A very good day to all my listeners all across the globe. This is George Nathaniel for you, and welcome back to my podcast. As you'll know, my podcast is available across all platforms, and I even have my own personal blog website, which is called georgenathaniel.net. My podcast or blogs is all about wellness and progress in life. And I always come back with very specific topics that relates to all our lives. Well, what is my topic for today? My topic for today is a very generic topic, something that relates to all our lives and something that relates all across time in our lives. My topic for today is stuck on time. But before I get to the topic, let me tell you or let me share some words of wisdom that I have received from my parents over time. My parents always told me, don't be bogged by fear. Even the biggest or gravest situations where everything seems impossible has its end. Yes, everything has a beginning and everything has its end. So we should never be stuck on time. I always talk about positivity. So let me tell you something out here, something very, very important out here. When we believe that every day is a new day filled with new hope and opportunities in life, we should never ever be stuck on time. Rather, always wait for the new moment. Remember, the clock keeps on ticking, waiting for no one. So, similarly, we should understand that opportunity is always there in the waiting. So, why get stuck on time? When we relate to our personal or professional goals in life, momentarily is just a timeline. Remember, we just kind of get stuck into situations, but that has to be momentarily. We need to build a strong mindset. We need to be determined over our approach. And remember, we need to find or clinch successful pathways over our achievements. That is what takes us along the journey of life. And when we talk about stuck on time, that is what helps us to get over and not get stuck on time. Stuck on time is good while evaluating the prosperous period ahead. Or when we're looking or when we're sitting down and relating how we can find a betterment to scale towards newer goals. Look at this at the ground level of being determined. Look at this at the ground level at being a visionary. Look at this at the ground level of understanding our goals, understanding our lives, and understanding that yes, there's a learning behind every failure. And behind every failure is an elevation that we have moved on in life. So remember, don't get stuck on time. Find a way to get on the road towards a and this effort needs to begin. This effort needs to start now. Whenever I talk about any of my topics, I always have a few takeaways, a few key takeaways. And I always say that these are very generic key takeaways. So each one of us needs to sit down and make their list of their own key takeaways. Well, what are the key takeaways that I can talk about today? Well, when we talk about stuck on time, what we need to understand that the priority of any takeaway is self belief to start. So, self belief is the topmost priority in any of these key takeaways. Remember, self belief is something that initiates the process for us to find a solution. If not, an alternative falls in place. So, we need to build our self belief over everything. The next thing that we need to understand is the same things have its variance. So, everything comes with its own variance in its own way. Getting there or getting across things is very, very important. And what we need to do is we need to make up, we need to gather ourselves We need to come up with learnings. We need to come up with new ways. We need to understand that yes, we cannot get stuck on time, and we need to engage in other things as well in life. Engaging in other things doesn't mean to actually avoid the ongoing thing, but yes, it's about finding a variant, finding another process to get out of it succeedingly. Well, another thing that I must share with you, another key takeaway, and let me tell you, this is something that relates to each one of us. This is like a clincher of a key takeaway. Remember, every end leads to a new beginning. Many times we may have seen, we may have noticed, we may have experienced that we may have got stuck in something. So we had to find another way. We need to find another alternative, or we needed to find another way to approach. And what has happened during that period is this particular way, or this particular approach, or this particular alternative actually led to a bigger goal in our life. So coming back to stuck on time, remember we must be boosted by time. We must learn over time. We must learn over the tick of the clock. It does not wait for anyone. The tick of time does not stop for anyone. The tick of time gives enough or sufficient time to each task, to each goal, to each achievement, and it keeps on. So when we relate to tick of time, when we relate to our goals in life and not get stuck on time, let us understand that what stops us, what actually burdens us, why can't we just find another way, another variant? Why can't we find a solution to anything? Because everything comes with a solution. So why can't we find a way to make an impact in our lives? So like I talk about progress, I talk about happiness, I talk about wellness. So, so the simple takeaway that I tell you or relate to anything why I talk about the subject is don't get stuck on life. Remember, don't get stuck on life. Don't get stuck on time. And remember, there are bigger, brighter, more things that you can accomplish while you're getting stuck in that period. I hope my podcast gave you an insight of not getting stuck on time. My podcast is very generic because I want each one of you all to sit down and relate to your own lives, finding your own way, because each one knows what's best for themselves. And before I come to the end of this podcast, I leave you with my words or the word of advice that my parents had told me, like I mentioned in the beginning. Like they always said, don't be bogged by fear, because even the biggest or gravest thing has its end. So I wish each one of you all success. I wish each one of you all wellness in life. I hope you like listening to my podcast. Do come in, put in a request. You can also visit my blog website, which is georgenathaniel.net, and I'll be happy to talk about your subjects or your topic. I wish you all prosperous period ahead. Thank you so much. This is George Nathaniel.